stalking is about fixation and obsession. And Maslin was certainly fixated with Hollie, and he was obsessed with Hollie. She met him, and I think within 2 weeks she went to London to train, and he followed her there. He didn't have a job, he didn't have anywhere to stay. That was his fixation and obsession with her. He would travel to be with her no matter what. He had nothing set up, so that was the first thing to say. It falls within that clear definition of around that fixation and obsession. When we look at things like repeated and unwanted, we know from when we used to go and visit Hollie in London that her phone was going all the time. He was constantly trying to get hold of her, constantly texting her, constantly calling her. Even when she came back to live with us from the September onwards of 2013, again, she had to turn her phone off at night because the constant barrage of calls and text, and when she put it back on in the morning, you could hear it just go ping, 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 ping all the time. So he was again fixated, and that repeated pattern of constant calling all of the time. There are other areas. I'm just trying to think of them now, individual ones. He would often turn up in Gloucester when she was out with her friends, because obviously he would know via her Facebook, or because she was very much lived her life online, Hollie, because she was a very, very big socialite. And he would know where she was, and he would go and then interrupt her and bring her back. She had to get a job in the evenings, even though she was working during the day as a hairdresser, purely so that he couldn't be with her, because when she was working at the pub, the manager didn't want him in the pub. There are other things. He made lots of threats to Hollie, and he carried through with some of those threats. For example, he was caught on CCTV by the police twice with his hands around Hollie's throat in the centre of Gloucester at night. So he threatened physical harm, and then he carried through with that. So there are lots of elements like that which can fall under the definition and the auspice of stalking, because they're very much linked to that coercive controlling behaviour as well as that stalking, because the behaviours can be very, very similar or the same in certain circumstances. So I think a lot of the behaviours that he was exhibiting also would fall under that stalking type of abuser antics, maybe. And when you look at his some of his ways and means, he isolated Hollie in London. He encouraged her to go back there. She went back there, and of course, in isolating her there, she's away from her family and her friends and a support network. She had to rely totally on him then, and we know from a stalking review that that's quite dangerous in that sense. So yes, there are lots of areas that actually you can say, yeah, that's stalking behaviour that he exhibited on Hollie, really. If I look back at that time, we did notice a few things that were happening, but we didn't really know what they were and what they meant, because I don't think the awareness was there back in 2014, not only about stalking, but about domestic abuse. Coercive control wasn't even a crime then, so it was that wasn't even talked about. So stalking, I never knew what stalking was, never really come across it before, because it wasn't mainstream. It's still not, and we're trying to get it there. But I don't think any of these types of behaviors we would have picked up on then, and we didn't pick up on, and we weren't worried, because we didn't know what they meant.